And in just a moment on Drive, what connects a Hollywood actor, a non-league soccer team, and one of the biggest upsets in world sport?
Who were convicted. But if I showed you how much the city allows me to pay them, you might understand why somebody may slip from time to time. But rather than acknowledge that problem, though, Dent likes to make waves by saying that the whole institution is corrupt. Well, I doubt he'll have any complaints about my decision to give Jim Gordon MCU. He's the perfect man for the job. Now, if you don't mind, I got a meeting to run to. Excuse me.
What a voice and what a mascot. For which team? Lincoln City. Now, Australia is littered with stories of the little teams that could. You know the kind. Amateur team up against super pros that on paper appear hopelessly mismatched. But somehow the Davids knock off the Goliaths and capture the hearts of everyone in the process. Well, echoing the charmed run of Tuggeranong United in the FFA Cup a couple of years ago, Lincoln City, a fifth division team in the UK, has made it all the way to the quarterfinals of the renowned FA Cup. It just so happens they have a prominent mascot of sorts, Hollywood actor Colin McFarlane, who's star of Batman Returns and Batman Begins. I had the pleasure of speaking with Colin earlier today from London, in the middle of his very busy schedule, and he was still in a beautiful daze at the result of Lincoln City making the quarters.
Most of Lincoln is still coming down from it because we can't quite believe. I think it's the first time in over 100 years that a non-league team has got this far in this competition, and that says it all, really.
And on that point, I mean, what does this do? What will this do for Lincoln City more broadly? How will it impact the city?
Well, I think it's fantastic because on lots of levels. I mean, when they did the cover, I think they covered the Brighton game. There were these glorious shots of Lincoln Cathedral, so people finally kind of went, "Oh, wow, this is a beautiful place." Well, I've been commuting between Lincoln and London since I was 18. I'm now 55, so quite a long time. And over that whole time, people always go to me, "Do you still live up in Leicester?" And I go, "No, it's Lincoln." Nobody knows where Lincoln is, or they didn't until now. But over the entire time I've been going back and forth to London, virtually every week, people have always said to me, they never get the name right. So people didn't really know where Lincoln was. People are now looking to work out where Lincoln is. So I think it's making everybody in Lincoln is kind of blown away. People who don't follow football are now going, "What's going on? Sorry, what is this competition?" So I think it obviously will bring, this next match is away, so it's not going to bring trade to Lincoln as such in that way. But I think the kind of overall effect will now be that people are fascinated by where's this little place that's doing this giant killing. So no, it's great for the city. Everybody's buzzing, and I think we were up till 4 a.m. celebrating, and I think most of Lincoln was doing the same thing. So yeah, it will resonate for a long time. And Lincoln is quite a sleepy little place. It had Lincoln University came here 20 years ago, and that sort of started to change Lincoln and make it a little bit more I guess a place that people had heard of. But to be honest with you, part of the reason I live here is because it's an oasis and people kind of don't know much about Lincoln. So it's a kind of double-edged sword, but obviously it's great that it's putting it on the map. Australians
generally love an underdog in sport. Is it not too much to say this has been a bit of a David versus Goliath battle, game after game for Lincoln, and they still stand
completely.
Up? Yeah.
Completely David versus Goliath, and I think that's the replay against Ipswich was a very long shot. No one expected them to win, and then we somehow scraped through 1-0, and then it was Brighton, and Brighton are top of the championship, which is something like 80 places above Lincoln. So again, they're about to be a Premiership team. So millions of pounds spent on their team. What this has done for Lincoln, the club, is that I know they're now in the black for the first time in something like 20 years. They've made over $1 million now from the TV money. They'll get another, I think it actually goes up now for the quarterfinals, so they get more money. So I actually was one of the commercial directors was in the box with me, and I said, "So what are you guys going to do with the money?" He said, "Well, we have a board meeting, and we've got a lot of infrastructure stuff we want to do, and so this is huge for us, Colin. We can now, look at our training ground, and we can now look at buying more players, and basically it looks after us for at least another couple of years." So I think for Lincoln, it's for the club, it's amazing, and then you have that knock-on effect of just bumping into people in Lincoln and everybody going, "Did you see the match on TV?" It's just it's like living in a dream world, and you don't want it to end.
You don't want to wake up. Colin McFarlane, actor, is our guest on ABC Radio Canberra this afternoon. He's kindly stayed up late. In fact, I'm not sure he's gone to bed, along with the rest of Lincoln City. They have somehow made it through to the FA Cup quarter-final for the first time in over 100 years, a non-league non-league side has made it this far in this highly decorated annual event. Adam Shirley with you on ABC Radio Canberra. Colin, I think one of your contemporaries, Michael Horton, who commentates for BBC Radio in Lincolnshire, is a great example of the kind of delirium you were referring to earlier. Just how difficult was it for him and others just to process what had happened?
It feels like we've had 3 miracles in a row. We didn't expect to beat Ipswich. We didn't expect to beat Brighton. But of course, they were both matches that are at home. So people who don't follow football, if you have a home draw, in most sports, it just gives you a bit of an advantage. You feel a bit more confident. You've got the supporters behind you. So there was a sort of puncher's chance against Ipswich. And you think maybe we get through that one. Then it's Brighton. We go 1-0 down, and all of us were going, oh, no, please just don't embarrass us. Let's hope it's not 4 or 5-0. Then somehow we get a penalty, we come back, it's 3-1. So that's kind of 2 miracles. And then we're going, right, now we've got to go away. We've got to go up to Burnley. Burnley have, I think, behind Chelsea, the best home record in the Premier League. They have dropped 1 point at home all season. So all of us, even the most optimistic of us, I was going, well, if we can get a draw and a replay at Lincoln, that would be amazing. But obviously, we're not going to beat them. They've dropped 1 point at home, and they drew 1-1 with Chelsea last week, who are top of the Premiership. So obviously, we're not going to beat them. And then, as I say, when this friend of ours in the box went that she had this dream that they were going to score in the 89th minute and said this to us before the match, and we all just went, yeah, right. Wouldn't that be amazing if that happened? And then it happened. So, I mean, it was unbelievable anyway. But the fact that you were in the midst of someone who had had a dream about it. So we're all, of course, now saying to her, you better start dreaming for the next round. Now, she is also an Arsenal fan. So, obviously, she is praying that Sutton, as much as we love Sutton to get through, she kind of wants Arsenal to win for obvious reasons. If that happens, I hope she has another dream, and I hope she says it's going to be 1-0 to Lincoln again. But yeah, it's each result has been unlikely. So now I think everyone goes, well, of course you're not going to beat Arsenal, but you go, but we've said that about the other 3 teams who played. So anything can happen. It's the miracle of the FA Cup. It's the lines I've been plugging on TV. It's exactly what you say, that it always happens in the FA Cup. It's the romance of the FA Cup. But I think in this age of money with football, you sort of think, well, is romance dead? Can you really outdo a Chelsea and a Manchester United with the millions of pounds they've got? And here you have this non-league team of part-timers. There's one player that you just hear all the fans go, Reedy, Reedy. A player called Reed who's just brilliant, but you look at him and he does not look like your archetypal. Please Google him. He doesn't look like your archetypal sportsman. He's got a bald patch. He looks a little bit overweight. Looks like he's just come out the pub. And yet, he's absolutely brilliant. One of the best players. I've seen 3 games in a row now, and he's nearly always man of the match. And you just go, wow, what an advert for dedication, commitment. I think this guy he was working on a building site or for a building company, and his days before he went professional used to start at 5:30 in the morning and finish at 1:30 in the morning, because he'd have to do his day job, then go and play a football match. And if it was away, he would get back at 1:30 in the morning. And then he'd made the decision to go fully professional, lose a bit of money, but commit himself to Lincoln. And wow, look at what's happened to him.
Like you say, Colin, romance in sport is not dead. This is a great example of it. And amongst all your roles, your acting roles and other jobs you've had, maybe career mascot as Lincoln City could be the highest on your CV.
Well, I keep bumping into the fans now, and they keep saying to me, you've got to keep coming because you keep bringing us luck. I got to hope so. But yeah, I mean, obviously, everyone's now going, we're 1 game away from Wembley, because now they play the semi-finals at Wembley. So, if you have one more miracle, and it could be against Sutton, it could be against Arsenal, but whichever it is, I think now all the Lincoln fans think anything can happen because it already has. So it's like Ranieri said about Leicester last year, we feel like we're dreaming, said, why wake up? And I think that's how most of Lincoln feels at the moment. Why wake up? Let's just keep this going. And I think it's not till March the 11th, the next game. So, it's that weekend. So we don't know which day because they have to choose the games for TV. So we got a lot of time to kind of luxuriate in it. And I'm sure there'll be a lot of coverage of Lincoln and the area, which will obviously help, the tourism in the area and putting Lincoln on the map. And so I think it's a win-win for the city, for the team. It's just an amazing experience. So I just feel very lucky and privileged to have for two people to have bumped into me on the train on the way to London and said, I'm a Batman fan. I'm really sorry to bother you, but I know you're Commissioner Loeb in Batman Begins, and I just wanted to say hi. So to be going back and to go back for these games, it's like, well, how lucky can you be? Now we just have to wait to see, I think it's tomorrow night, whether Sutton can do their David and Goliath and have a giant killing, or whether we get the glamour draw that obviously the city would love. But I think, as the manager said today, either way it's a win-win, because if it's a non-league team, Lincoln are top of their league at the moment, so they'd feel very confident about beating them. And if it's Arsenal, obviously it's just like winning the lottery for them. So,
dare I say it, Colin McFarlane, you and all of Lincoln City, keep daring to dream, go the Imps, and thank you very much for speaking with us on ABC Radio in Canberra.
Thank you. It's a great pleasure to be on here. One more miracle. That's all we need.
Into the penalty, to the back post. Watt falls free. Heads it back into the mixer. Headed. In is it? Has the referee given it? He has! Lincoln City have scored! A major upset is on the...
BBC Radio Lincolnshire sports editor Michael Horton calling that winning goal for Lincoln City a 5th Division team. Think amateurs of amateurs beating a Premier League side to make it to the quarters of the FA Cup. Just have memories of Tuggeranong United's wonderful run in the FFA Cup just a couple of years ago. Good to be with you on Drive. And we're heading out to Carl Wooler.